Next is on the roof. So we also closely work with the cool cities or C40 cities, the programs all over the world. So when you go to the Google map and look at all the floors of an office or a home, the concrete is exposed to the ambient conditions outside. So they will absorb all the heat and re-radiate back into my environment or the neighborhood. So that's why if you go, now if the temperature is 38 degrees centigrade, if you go to a village which is 200 kilometers from this place, the temperatures would be minimum 2 to 3 degrees lower than this. Why? They have a less road, they have less concrete, they have a less asphalt or a blacktop. So we wanted to encourage more and more usage of green roofs or high solar reflective index painted surfaces. Renewable energy, as I said, these are all the live pictures. We are going for a building integrated solar PV. It looks like a roof, but it is actually a power plant, which is generating enormous amount of energy. It looks like a wall, but it is a building integrated solar PV in one of the green buildings. So these are all the small size wind turbines of 3 kilowatt and 5 kilowatt installed all over the boundary of my building project sites, which are generating the enough power to take care of the entire exterior lighting or our server loads. All these buildings, they started doing a lot of energy simulation. Even before you break the ground for your building construction, you will know how this building is going to behave. There are a lot of software professionals, there is a lot of demand. So how do I use the sun path diagram, the weather temperature, which has been recorded in this city or any town or a village for the last 50 to 60 years. So you put it, accordingly you design your building envelopes or the specifications of these materials. So we are also started using the hybrid systems. Some of the municipal corporations, they don't allow us to use a cooling tower which consumes enormous amount of water. Because now many of us are not even getting a water for portable and domestic applications. How will I dump all the water into my cooling tower to take care of my makeup losses? So these buildings, they have a balance. So they treat the entire gray and the black water generated from the washrooms, treat it and use it for the cooling tower makeups. If any surplus water is there, it goes into my landscape. Still, if there is a surplus water, it goes into my WCs and the washrooms. So why should I use a potable water to convey the human sewerage or the urinals? So this is how it has been beautifully integrated. As the doctor was mentioning about the Bayer building in Greater Noida, this is a building. So this building has adopted IGBC norms right from the word go, right through the design, construction and performance. So by design, they've gone for all the measures, whatever I mentioned earlier. So the energy requirement itself has been brought down very low. So they have a huge solar PV on top of the roof. So the requirement is only 78 megawatt hour per annum, whereas they are generating almost 88 megawatt. So we call this building as an power plant actually. So it is not only doing less of a bad, doing more of a good actually. So far we thought about doing only less of a bad, saying that I have done this, but not the other one. Whereas here, as you could see it, they generate the enormous amount of energy required by them, as well as the surplus energy is fed to the grid. It is not only one case. Very recently in another building in Bhopal, they have a solar PV which tracks the sun path also. So as we all know that sun rises in the east, travels through south before it reaches the west. The solar PVs are not static. They completely track the path of the sun also, so that the generation is much better than the static devices. So this we call it as net zero buildings. So by doing all this, what is the impact on the energy consumption or water consumption we are having? So when we started the movement 20 years ago, people used to talk about 10 megawatt or 12 megawatt is my electrical connected load per million square feet. Whereas right now, by incorporating all these measures, it has come down to 6 to 7 megawatts. Earlier, the lighting power density, people used to talk about 2 watts per square feet. In all our green buildings, we are talking about 0.6 or less than 0.6 or 0.4 is achievable. Same is the case with equipment power density, which was as high as 3 watts per square feet. It has now come down to 2 watts per square feet. And many of the governments, they are also planning to make the energy conservation building code as mandatory. So it took only 2 minutes for us to fill up the form, the LEED platinum rated building, our own building, and we got that from the government also, certifying our energy efficiency. They gave 5-star rating. So getting a 5-star for a building is only a first step, in my opinion. So this workshop is also talking about the public awareness. The products and the building may be 5-star rated. If the people inside are only 1-star rated, so their awareness levels and attitudes and how they operate the building, if it is not aligned as the designers and architects and civil engineer what they conceive, then the building will be completely off from the target. That's why we wanted to measure and track it. For example, in our own building, for the last 10 years, we have not exceeded 80 to 90 kilowatt hour per annum per square meter. Whereas the conventional buildings in India consume anywhere between 140 to 180 kilowatt hour per square meter per annum. So before I sum it up, I would love to run through on green homes. It is not only the big cities and offices are going green, because home is where the heart is, isn't it? So we all start off for our offices, our institutions are from our home, and we come back to the same home. So the orientation is very, very important. So this is how they have done it in many of the individual houses. Unlike some of the countries in Europe or Scandinavian countries which don't even get the sunlight for weeks together, India gets an enormous amount of sunlight. So this is a classical example in India, in Hyderabad. So these looks like an artificial light glowing on top. It is not actually. So these are all the sun pipes which is buried on the roof. The sun pipe has a high reflective material coated on inside. So this takes the entire sunlight deep inside my office or a home actually. So when water can travel on a pipe, gas can travel in a pipe, why not sunlight? So this has been beautifully integrated to harness the daylight available. So architects and civil engineers has come out with innovative ideas how the balconies and the other shading devices would be able to protect the heat getting inside into my living rooms or a living spaces in an office or a house. So even the shading devices could be a eco-friendly material like this, a bamboo or a brick or any of them. So in many of the urban spaces, we don't get the landscape area for us. We don't have much of open space. What do I do it? So that's the only option available is go for a vertical walls. So the living walls we call it. So somebody can come out of the balcony and plug a tomato or a cucumber from these vertical greenery available, and then it is right now happening. So the ITC Grand Cholas or the hotels and homes, this is how it is happening. This is an institute in California. This is a house in Delhi or Vadodara in Gujarat. They have gone for high solar reflective index. When you do more greenery also, we may even get an uninvited guest on top of your house. So we may get a cow and a goat also. So it is not only the energy efficiency is at the forefront. Here is a house designed by architect Chitra Vishwanath from Bangalore again. So this is taken by photograph like an engineer like me. It looks like a ground floor. It is actually in the first floor. A roof that grows rice. Can you believe it? So India needs a food security also. So the 5-member team living in this house, the entire water generated, the wastewater is used for this particular paddy field, and then they get the paddy for rice for the 1 year actually. So we are addressing the energy security as well as the food security of the country by going green. Here is another innovation came from the civil engineers and the architects in this building in Chennai. This is a high-rise towers. They are not able to provide a greenery at the ground level. So initially the owner had an idea of having an individual towers. The architect came out with an idea of connecting all the towers and provided a jogging track or a walking track at the terrace level. So if somebody starts from one end, goes through the entire towers and come back, is almost travel 1.75 kilometers. So only thing is you cannot run because the top floor guys may complain. So it can use it for a soft jogging or a walking. So these kind of cross-fertilization of ideas also. For example, this is in a Planet Green in Vadodara again. These are all the individual villas or holiday homes. So they have incorporated beautiful measures which has been done in many corporate offices and factories and put it across here. And resource reuse. Every city in India or every town in India, they have a second-hand market. Whenever a construction waste or whenever I'm bringing down my building or a dilapidated building is being brought down, so these materials can find a way into my new offices also. For example, this entire park is made out of all the old materials. So we are giving a new life to the old material and bringing down the demand for the virgin material. So this is a classical example of a businessman who is a multi-millionaire actually. So when he did his own green home in Hyderabad, he went around all over Hyderabad and picked up a lot of wooden waste material. And this main door is made out of 50 small wooden pieces which is taken away from various construction sites. So this we call it as a resource reuse or usage of salvage material. Rainwater harvesting in one of the small house, 1,500 square feet house. So he has done a huge sump beneath his car parking area. So he felt that the sump is over-designed. So now he has put the second pipe, though it is not legally allowed in India, he is taking the rainwater from his neighbor because the neighbor doesn't have a sump. So he is taking from the roof of his neighbor, and then he has for minimum of 8 months of the entire year after the monsoon, this rainwater sump is able to cater. Here is another innovation by an architect and a building owner. So the rainwater harvested goes inside the slab, which is closer to the kitchen at the ground level. So the stored water is brought back to the kitchen sink by a hand pump. As the spouse is preparing the lunch or a breakfast in the morning, somebody can, instead of going to the gym, they can use this hand pump to take the water from the sump to bring it to the heat sink. So this is happening. So what I'm trying to tell is the n number of innovations are coming into these measures. Water metering. Water pricing is not properly done in India. I don't want to get into the politics and other side. So here, whenever we take bath, many of us, we start singing. We try to become a Michael Jackson or Lata Mangeshkar or a Jesudas. So what happens is, instead of taking a shower for 3 minutes, you spend almost 20 minutes. So these are all the meters mounted on the entrance of your washroom. So if the meter was reading 100, before you went, when you came out, if it is reading 200, you have consumed almost 100 liters for your bath. So the water is being measured and monitored. So this is one of the green home. The entire house, the lighting is by LED lamps. Even he has gone to the extent, whenever we open a refrigerator, there is a small bulb which glows. So that was traditionally, it will be a GLS or a conventional lamp. He has even changed that particular bulb to a LED lamp. And here is a harvesting. The entire organic waste generated in the kitchen, it goes to the vermicomposting. It is being converted. And the compound wall is a sewage treatment plant. Can you believe it? Except for the WC, the human waste, the entire kitchen waste and the the washing machine waste water comes into the compound wall. These plants has a unique property. What we consider as a waste in the grey water or the black water is an organic waste which becomes a food for these guys. So they take away the entire organic waste, and the BOD, COD, pH and turbidity all taken away, and it comes as a clear water, as you could see it in the pipe, which is used for the landscaping. This is an individual house level it is happening. So now we are moving into the prefabricated houses also. This is again from the Bangalore example. The Karnataka Police Housing Board, when they wanted to construct a huge mass housing, this is done at a trial level, which has adopted our IGBC Green Homes rating program. This has been constructed in 17 days. Can you believe it? And then it has not even generated 1 square meter of a waste material, not even 1 kg of waste has been generated. And it has costed them only 10 lakh rupees in the Indian currency. These grid-free homes, they are not even connected to the grid, they are not even connected to the public water or a sewer. Completely zero carbon or whatever you call it. And then we are talking about education. We in IGBC also do a lot of measures. Every office or every home, they have a signage, they have a training program, they invite a lot of people, whomever you wanted to visit any of these buildings, we'll be able to arrange, and then they give handouts, they make a lot of presentations. And then every year we celebrate the 3rd week of September as a World Green Building Week across the world. So this year it is happening between 16th and 20th of September 2013. Please block your diary. Whatever you do, even instead of your individual car, if you got into a bus on the day, you have contributed to reduce the global warming. So I would like to sum it up by the quote from our father of the nation: world has enough resources for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed action. So let us all go green. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.